There's a brutal realization that hits somewhere around 30, a moment when you understand that the rules you've been following were never designed to make you wealthy. You've been playing fair, being ethical, working hard within established systems, waiting your turn, believing that doing things the right way would eventually pay off. And then you look around and notice that the people accumulating actual wealth aren't playing by those rules at all. They're not waiting their turn. They're not concerned with fairness. They're not limiting themselves to what's explicitly permitted. They understand something you're just beginning to grasp. The game is rigged, the rules are for control, and playing fair is exactly what keeps you poor, while others who play strategically accumulate everything you thought hard work and ethics would earn you. The devastating truth is that after 30, you're out of time for naive approaches. You can't afford another decade of playing by rules that serve everyone except you, of being ethical in systems designed to exploit that ethics, of working within structures that reward rule breakers while punishing rule followers. This isn't a call to become criminal or abandon integrity. It's recognition that wealth accumulation operates by different rules than you were taught, and continuing to play fair in an unfair game isn't virtue. It's volunteering to lose. Abandon the myth of level playing fields. The first psychological shift required is abandoning the comforting lie that you're competing on a level playing field where the best person wins through merit and effort. The game is fundamentally tilted toward those with capital, connections, and willingness to exploit advantages that playing fair forbids you from using. The people accumulating wealth aren't doing so through superior ethics or harder work. They're doing it by recognizing and exploiting the tilt, by understanding that the field is uneven and positioning themselves on the high ground while you're climbing uphill. The psychology of level playing field belief involves trusting that systems are fundamentally fair, that rules are enforced equally, that everyone has the same opportunities if they just work hard enough. This trust is a control mechanism that keeps you compliant while others who understand the game's actual mechanics run circles around you. They know which rules are enforced and which are theatrical, which advantages are legal but hidden, which systems can be gamed and how. Your belief in fairness is their competitive advantage over you. Emotionally, abandoning this belief is destabilizing because it means accepting that you've been naive, that the world doesn't work how you thought it did, that many of your past failures weren't your fault, but the result of playing a rigged game as though it were fair. This recognition triggers grief for wasted years and anger at the deception, but it also opens the possibility of playing strategically rather than ethically handicapping yourself in the name of fairness that doesn't exist. The people building wealth understand that the playing field is tilted by design, that the rules serve those who made them, that the game is won by those who exploit asymmetries rather than pretend they don't exist. They don't waste energy being outraged by unfairness. They study the tilt, understand it, and use it. They position themselves to benefit from structural advantages rather than compete against them. They recognize that playing fair in an unfair system is choosing poverty in the name of principles that no one with power shares. After 30, you cannot afford another decade of pretending the game is fair. You're too far behind those who started with advantages or recognized the tilt earlier. Your only path to wealth involves accepting that the game is rigged and learning to play the rigged game rather than the imaginary fair one. This doesn't mean abandoning ethics entirely. It means being strategic about which ethics you follow, recognizing that many ethical rules are designed to keep you powerless while the powerful ignore them with impunity. The practical reality of tilted playing fields means that two people can take identical actions and get vastly different results based on their starting position, connections, and resources. The person with capital can weather failures that would destroy you. The person with connections gets opportunities you never hear about. The person willing to exploit legal gray areas moves faster than you who stay within clearly defined boundaries. Recognizing this isn't pessimism. It's accurate assessment that allows you to stop competing where you're disadvantaged and start positioning yourself where advantages accumulate. Stop waiting for permission and forgiveness. The second shift involves recognizing that wealth doesn't come to those who wait for permission, who play by the rules, who ask before taking. It comes to those who take first and seek forgiveness if caught, who understand that it's easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission, who recognize that most rules are actually guidelines enforced selectively against those who lack power to resist. The people getting rich aren't waiting to be chosen, aren't asking if they're allowed, aren't seeking approval before acting. They're moving, taking, building, and dealing with consequences if they arise. The psychology of permission seeking involves internalizing external authority, believing you need approval before acting, waiting for someone to grant you the right to pursue what you want. This internalization was useful when you were young and needed adults' permission for everything. After 30, it's a prison that keeps you dependent on gatekeepers who have no incentive to grant you passage, who benefit from you staying where you are, who use the permission model to maintain control over access and opportunity. Emotionally, acting without permission triggers anxiety because you've been conditioned to fear consequences for unauthorized action. This fear is often disproportionate to actual risk because the consequences you're imagining are based on childhood experiences where unauthorized action led to punishment. In adult contexts, especially in wealth building, the actual consequence of unauthorized action is often nothing or minor compared to the opportunity cost of waiting for permission that never comes. The wealthy understand that asking permission is volunteering for no as the default answer. When you ask if you can do something, you're inviting someone else to decide your fate, and their default will almost always be denial because granting permission creates responsibility for them while denying it costs them nothing. When you simply do things and deal with consequences if they arise, you've taken control of your own fate and forced others into reactive rather than permissive positions. This shift doesn't mean reckless action regardless of consequences. It means calculated action based on realistic assessment of actual risks versus imagined ones. Most people overestimate the consequences of unauthorized action and underestimate the cost of waiting for permission. After 30, you need to recalibrate this calculation radically. The risks of acting without permission are usually manageable. The cost of spending another decade waiting for permission that never comes is catastrophic. The permission-seeking mentality also manifests in waiting for perfect conditions, for all the information, for someone to validate your plan before executing. This waiting is a form of seeking permission from circumstances, from the universe, from fate. Meanwhile, people getting rich are moving with incomplete information, in imperfect conditions, without validation, understanding that action creates information and opportunities that waiting never reveals. After 30, you need to become comfortable with moving before you're ready, with imperfect plans executed now rather than perfect plans executed never. Exploit information asymmetries ruthlessly. The third principle involves recognizing that wealth accumulates through information advantages and being willing to exploit these asymmetries without guilt. The people getting rich know things others don't, see opportunities others can't see, understand value that others don't recognize. They use this knowledge advantage to buy low and sell high, to position themselves before others recognize opportunities, to extract value from gaps in understanding. Playing fair would mean sharing information, leveling the playing field, helping others see what you see. But doing so eliminates your advantage and ensures you remain at the same level as everyone else. The psychology of information asymmetry involves understanding that knowledge is power, and that sharing that power dilutes it. Most people have been conditioned to believe that hoarding information is selfish, that sharing knowledge is virtuous, that helping others see what you see is ethical. These beliefs serve those already wealthy because they convince potential competitors to give away their only advantages. The wealthy hoard information, invest in knowledge others don't have, and exploit the gap between what they know and what others know. Emotionally, exploiting information asymmetry triggers guilt because you're benefiting from others' ignorance. You're using knowledge advantages to extract value. You're not helping people avoid mistakes you could warn them about. This guilt is conditioning that serves those already wealthy. They want you to feel bad about using information advantages because your guilt prevents you from competing effectively. They have no such guilt about using their information advantages against you. The mechanics of information advantage involve constant learning, networking with people who know things you don't, paying for knowledge others won't invest in, recognizing patterns others miss. It means when you discover an undervalued asset, you buy it rather than telling everyone so they can buy too. When you identify an opportunity, you exploit it rather than sharing it. When you develop expertise, you monetize it rather than giving it away in the name of helping others who would never help you. After 30, you need to become ruthless about information asymmetry. You've spent your 20s being generous with knowledge, helping others, sharing what you learn. This generosity kept you poor while others took what you gave and used it without reciprocity. Going forward, information is currency that you spend strategically rather than give away freely. You share only when sharing serves your interests, when it builds relationships that benefit you, when it positions you advantageously. Otherwise, you keep your knowledge advantages and use them to extract maximum value. Information asymmetry also means recognizing that most markets are inefficient because information is unevenly distributed. The people getting rich are finding these inefficiencies, places where buyers and sellers don't have the same information, where value isn't recognized by all parties, where timing creates temporary knowledge gaps. They position themselves in these gaps and extract value from the difference between what they know and what others know. This isn't unethical. It's how markets actually work once you strip away the mythology of perfect information that exists nowhere in reality. Leverage other people's resources. Without apology. The fourth principle is understanding that wealth is built by using other people's time, money, and resources rather than just your own. The people getting rich aren't working harder with their own resources. They're using other people's capital, other people's labor, other people's distribution channels, other people's credibility. They leverage everything they can access to multiply their output beyond what their individual resources could achieve. Playing fair would mean only using what you personally own, only risking your own money, only working with your own time. This limitation ensures you can never accumulate significant wealth. The psychology of leverage involves overcoming the scarcity mentality that says you can only work with what you have, that borrowing or using others' resources is risky or wrong, that you should build everything yourself. This mentality keeps you thinking small, operating within the limits of your personal resources, building slowly, if at all. The wealthy think in terms of abundance accessed through leverage. They see other people's resources as available for strategic use if structured properly. Emotionally, using other people's resources triggers fear of obligation, of being controlled by creditors or investors, of losing other people's money, of being judged for building on borrowed foundation. These fears are valid but manageable. The alternative, building only with your limited personal resources, is virtually guaranteed failure because you simply don't have enough to compete with those using leverage. The fear of leverage keeps you small, while those willing to use it scale rapidly. The mechanics of leverage involve understanding debt, equity, partnerships, and other structures that give you access to resources you don't own. It means using banks' money to buy assets that appreciate, using investors' capital to build ventures that scale, using employees' time to multiply output beyond your personal capacity, using platforms and systems built by others to distribute your products. Every wealthy person is leveraging other people's resources. The only question is whether you will too, or whether fear and fairness-based thinking will keep you limited to your own meager resources. After 30, you must overcome the resistance to leverage. You've been taught that debt is bad, that using other people's money is risky, that building with your own resources is more secure. These teachings ensure you never accumulate significant wealth. The wealthy embrace strategic leverage, understanding that controlled use of other people's resources is how you escape the limitation of your personal capital and time. This doesn't mean reckless borrowing. It means strategic use of leverage to build faster than your personal resources would allow. The sophistication of leverage involves understanding that different types of resources can be leveraged differently. Financial leverage through debt or investment is most obvious, but time leverage through hiring, attention leverage through platforms, credibility leverage through partnerships, and knowledge leverage through collaboration all multiply your capacity beyond personal limits. The people building wealth after 30 are leveraging everything they can access, understanding that personal resources alone will never be sufficient for significant wealth accumulation in the time remaining. Accept that someone will always lose. The fifth and final principle is accepting that wealth accumulation is zero-sum in the short term, that for you to win, someone else must lose, and that being unwilling to extract value because it costs someone else keeps you poor while others extract from you without hesitation. The people getting rich understand that every transaction has a winner and loser. That value flows from one party to another, that accumulating wealth requires being on the winning side of these exchanges more often than the losing side. Playing fair means trying to create win-win situations where everyone benefits equally. But these situations are rare, and waiting for them means missing most opportunities. The psychology of zero-sum acceptance involves abandoning the comfortable fiction that everyone can win simultaneously, that wealth creation is always additive rather than extractive, that you can get rich without anyone losing. This fiction serves those already wealthy because it makes potential competitors hesitant to compete, reluctant to extract value, guilty about winning at others' expense. Meanwhile, the wealthy have no such hesitation. They understand that someone will lose in every transaction and they ensure it's not them. Emotionally, accepting zero-sum dynamics triggers guilt about benefiting at others' expense, fear of being seen as exploitative, worry about karma or cosmic justice. These emotions are manipulation tools that keep you playing fair while others play to win. The wealthy feel no guilt about winning because they recognize that if they don't win, someone else will, and that someone will have no guilt about extracting from them. The choice isn't between extraction and fairness. It's between extracting value or having value extracted from you. The practical application involves being willing to negotiate hard, to buy low even when sellers would benefit from higher prices, to sell high even when buyers would benefit from lower prices, to compete aggressively for limited opportunities, to win positions that others lose. It means recognizing that employment is zero-sum between labor and capital, that you extract maximum value while employers seek to minimize cost. It means business deals are adversarial even when polite, that someone's loss is funding your gain. After 30, you cannot afford sentimentality about zero-sum dynamics. You've spent enough time trying to make everyone happy, to create fair exchanges, to ensure others benefit as much as you do. This generosity kept you poor while others took advantage of your fairness to extract maximum value from you. Going forward, you need to understand that wealth flows from one party to another, that for you to accumulate, someone else must transfer value to you, and that being unwilling to be on the winning side of transfers means remaining on the losing side. The nuance of zero-sum thinking is recognizing when situations are truly zero-sum versus when they're positive-sum over longer time frames. In individual transactions, there's usually a winner and loser. Over repeated interactions, relationships can become positive-sum through trust and cooperation. The sophisticated player knows which frame applies when and doesn't confuse long-term relationship building with short-term transaction dynamics. They'll create win-win in repeated games while extracting maximum value in one-off transactions, understanding that the wealthy use both strategies appropriately rather than dogmatically applying either fairness or extraction to all situations. The acceptance of zero-sum realities also involves recognizing that resources and opportunities are genuinely limited in most contexts. There aren't unlimited positions at the top, unlimited access to capital, unlimited high-value opportunities. When you win one, someone else doesn't get it. This scarcity is real, and pretending otherwise is naive. The question isn't whether someone loses when you win. The question is whether you're willing to win knowing someone loses, or whether you'll voluntarily stay in losing positions to avoid the guilt of winning. The shift from playing fair to playing strategically doesn't require becoming unethical or cruel. It requires recognizing that the game you thought you were playing, the fair game where hard work and ethics lead to wealth, doesn't exist. The actual game is strategic, tilted, and won by those who understand its real rules, rather than the fake rules taught to keep people compliant. After 30, you're out of time to figure this out slowly. You need rapid recalibration from fairness-based thinking to strategy-based thinking, from waiting for permission to taking action, from sharing advantages to exploiting them, from avoiding leverage to embracing it, from seeking win-win to accepting that someone loses and ensuring it's not you. This recalibration is psychologically difficult because it requires abandoning beliefs you've held since childhood, accepting that you've been naive, and adopting approaches that feel wrong because you've been conditioned to believe they're wrong. But the alternative is another decade or more of poverty while playing by rules that serve everyone except you, of watching others get rich using strategies you're too ethical to employ, of arriving at 40 or 50 having played fair your entire life and having nothing to show for it except the moral satisfaction of losing with integrity. The people getting rich after 30 aren't smarter or harder working than you. They simply abandoned fairness-based thinking earlier, recognized the game's actual mechanics faster, and started playing to win rather than playing to be seen as good. Your choice now is whether to join them in strategic play or continue playing fair while they accumulate the wealth you'll never see.